Hi, this is Darren from Wythe Windows. Here we are at the New York Build Expo at the Javits Center. Wythe's exhibiting here, but let's take a look at some of the other high-performance products that are on display here at the Javits Center. Hi, here we are at the InsoFast booth. You may know InsoFast because they do those quick insulation for your basements. But the owner of InsoFast came up with this very clever solution, which helps you have a framework to put exterior insulation on your building. You just put it on your sheathing, which is going to be your air tightness and weather tightness layer, and then this gives you a nailing base to either put another furring or a stud, so that then you can hang your siding off of.
What we've done is made it so the framer can put on the brackets.
Yeah.
The framer can put on the furring strips,
Yeah.
and they have a choice. They can go either vertical or horizontal.
Yeah.
We just make it possible to do continuous insulation,
Yeah.
unbroken.
Yeah, it gives you the benefit of either a Larson truss or a double stud wall without all that complexity and added expense of labor and material. And I like the product you chose to make this out of because it's going to reduce any thermal bridging.
Right, that's actually 250 times less thermal bridging than steel. So when you start looking at thermal bridging, the typical has been to put a long screw through and then you try to hit the frame.
Right.
And when you do that, you effectively take out a 6-inch plug of insulation in each one of those areas. Mm-hmm. Not to mention that it's costly and expensive.
Yeah.
For each screw.
Those long screws are pretty costly. And then look at the variety of sizes you have here. So it's really, you're allowing, no matter what your ambitions are, whether it's just to get that continuous insulation with 2 inches here, or if you really want to go all the way to Passive House, you got you're another option.
Right. I mean, this is a really interesting area out here for the codes that just changed to R30 cavity insulation. Mm-hmm. Now, when you do R30 cavity insulation, the builder's going, well, 2x6 construction, I can put 4.5 inches of spray foam in there and meet the code, which is correct. But the difference between going R20 cavity insulation and going R30 cavity insulation, as far as the performance of the wall assembly, that extra R10 in the cavity adds R2 to the overall performance, because you still have the thermal bridging. So instead of 50% of the energy going out to stud, you now have 75% of the energy going out to stud.
What I like about this product is that it's making it much more obtainable and much more easy for your average everyday contractor to bring high performance to all his clients. How do people get it?
Insofast.com. We have our pricing on the website.
Well, there you have it. You have it from the inventor himself, Ed, who invented InsoFast, but now has this really cool new product that allows for very easy continuous exterior installation. Thanks so much.
Thank you much.
What is this?
This is an roll board.
Yeah.
Dual density with Intello Plus on the face of it.
The face of it.
So it's a 2-in-1 product. You have insulation and air tightness in one step. It's very easy to cut, to fit around windows, which you must like.
I do like that.
And then you air seal it with our Tescovana tape, and then you have your interior air barrier. Smart interior air barrier.
What about cutting it?
This knife or the smaller serrated knife will cut it. You have to plunge straight and cut slowly, but then you can get very clean cuts of both the board and the membrane. So that's why it's so easy to cut around penetrations. On the walls it's very easy because you don't have to cut it. And you don't have any studs, so it goes on very fast in masonry or concrete buildings.
So you're doing this between the studs, and then you're
not between the studs.
No,
it's on the inside of the masonry. So it's
inside the masonry.
Yeah, so
okay.
it's a continuous layer. So
Yes.
you have no studs, no thermal bridges, highest R value possible.
Right, but if you wanted to do it between the studs,
then you're better off just using rock wool bats
yeah,
and putting the membrane over the studs.
the studs.
Yeah. So this is really a retrofit or a concrete panel application where you don't want to have any studs because you can just apply this to the substrate and then have any structural interruptions.
And it saves on the labor of having to put the
studs up and the material for the studs that are not insulating. they don't need to do a structural function in those buildings.
And then you're just putting a service cavity
in front of it, a small service cavity in front of it. Put your gypsum on that. You're done. Yeah.
And how are you holding it back to the to the masonry?
You have
or it's just pressured in there by this?
No, you use a couple of anchors. You have PMF anchors that you can just tap in, or the nail gun variety. There are True Fast makes these anchors. So there's three methods. The plastic that you pre-drill and tap in. The one with the actuated kind of nail gun, or the one with the screw, but then and kind of like a tap con or things like that.
And so would they buy it from Rockwell, or would they buy it from 475?
Well,
both.
Both. So we'll have it in stock for the smaller projects in the New England area, New York, and then for the big projects, Rockwell will take care of the truckloads.
Yeah. I love coming to these shows and seeing new things and seeing new solutions.
Right.
How do you guys come up with this?
With Rockwell together. So it's a collaboration. It took a little while to get it figured out, but
what was the timeline like? How long was this in?
A couple months.
Oh, that's not bad at all.
No, a little bit more, but
well, that was fantastic.
All right, good.
I think that was very informative. I think there's value in that, don't you? I'm here with Kevin from GreenGert, and just yesterday he was telling me about a really cool product that can help make our windows, when installed, have a better thermal value and make achieving that thermal value a lot easier. Tell us about it.
Yeah, thanks for asking. At Advanced Architectural Products, a lot of the products that we manufacture, actually all the products that we manufacture, are composite metal hybrid, which means it takes the best properties of fiberglass and metal and works together. And so we've been applying that product to walls for over 14 years, installed in over 4,000 projects, and we kept hearing from people that they wanted our technology to also be supplied for the surrounds around windows. And that's one of the things that we were working on. Just launched our product last year, where we take that same composite metal hybrid technology, use it on the window surround, so you get the thermal properties plus the additional structural integrity to push the window outboard, so it aligns with the plane of the insulation, so you get that maximum thermal efficiency.
Yeah, you want to keep those isotherms nice and straight.
Right, exactly. And that's one of the things that there's a desire to do that in the industry, but the technology didn't always exist, where you couldn't get the thermally insensitive properties of composite materials, but the structural integrity of having metal components there as well. And that's one of the things that we do really well with composite metal hybrid, is really leverage the best properties of both materials.
And before something like this, the options were like, oh, I'll build a buck, and then so you now have a little more complex carpentry skills needed. But here you're taking a system that's, I think, probably a little easier to work with and getting more structural strength out of it as well, and better thermal performance.
Exactly, and that's one of the things that's nice about our product is it actually installs the same way any wood or any other legacy material, any steel-based systems would install, but it provides that additional value. So it's familiar to the installers, but also so much more thermally efficient. Like one of the things that we hear is that using wood or some of the other legacy materials has approximately a 45% thermal efficiency. And one of the great things about when you make the transition to GreenGert XO is it provides that 97% thermal efficiency. So you're doubling the thermal efficiency while still providing the structural integrity to hold the windows.
And talk to me about also, like, when I'm going to install the window out there, I need it to stay in that opening, and I got to screw into something that's actually going to hold my window in place.
Exactly, and that's one of the things that's sort of fundamental to everything at Advanced Architectural Products is every fastener has a steel connection. So everything is that steel to steel connection. So you don't need to worry about how the product will evolve or degrade or anything over time, because there's always that steel to steel connection. And that's something that's so important in the industry, is making sure that those connections will last forever.
That's great. Thank you so much, Kevin. I wish
Thank
you the best of luck with that product.
All right, thanks for coming. Take care.
You too. Well, thanks for joining me for this recap of New York Build Expo. It was so much fun and really informative to be here, and I hope you found it that way too.